Hey, Coach, it's Mike Barber from Richmond. How are you?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm good. Uh, I'm sure you've thought about this a bunch this week and leading in, but just the thoughts about going up against some familiar faces. And I imagine you might have had more talk with your old coaches and teammates in the offseason, if not for this matchup. What's that all been like for you?
It's been fun, man. I enjoyed my time in Norfolk. Um, Coach Ronnie was one of the best guys I've worked for. He kind of rejuvenated me a little bit, to be honest with you. And just in that short time, man, I was able to learn so much from him from an organization standpoint, from practice, from structure, offensively. He spent a good amount of time with us, game planning throughout the season. So just bouncing ideas and he had coached the position that I was coaching at the time, and that was tremendous for me. It was awesome. So it's a good group of guys over there. I've kind of kept quiet and gave them their space, and they've done the same. But it's gonna be fun, man. It really will be.
Media guys like me and fans will make too much out of it. You're going to downplay it too much. How much information could you share, though, with the defensive coaches at Tech in terms of the personnel over there?
Just a good feel, on personnel and character of those guys, and maybe strengths and weaknesses. But we've got a really really talented defensive staff, and those guys do a really good job down from the quality control, the analysts and GAs of watching so much more tape than. And they've got a really good feel for them. So just we may bounce ideas, and I've coached a handful of those guys, and really had my hand on the receivers when I wanted to and when I could. And I've known Eli Jenkins his entire life since he was 6 or 7 years old. So I've got a really good feel for those guys just personally.
Thank you.
David.
Hey, Fontel, appreciate your time. What part of the wide receiver, your group as a whole, I guess, do you feel like you guys have developed, or what area do you feel like you guys have developed the most at over past 2-3 weeks since fall camp started?
Mentality. I think that sticks out the most to me, and I credited that to Coach Pride because that's something that he preaches, and just mentality and accountability. That's something that I was taught just as far as being accountable at a young age. Playing the sport, so I handle those guys different as far as we talk about it all. We talk about it all academically, on the field performance, things they're doing off the field, and we talk about it together as a unit. And, that's something for me personally that I believe in because I believe that makes those guys be accountable, especially, freshmen, when we're talking about academics and some seniors in the room have been through the same thing. And, those guys can go put their arm around them and, show them the way a little bit more if they know what's going on. And, we keep it in our room, but, there's no egos in there, and they do a really good job, man, of just coming to work every single day.
And how would you describe Dejuan Lofton and what he brings to your room?
Oh, man, I love the kid, man. He's probably one of the strongest pound for pound on the team. Tremendous work ethic. He probably puts more pressure on himself than anybody. So I take a different approach to coaching him because just knowing that how much pressure he's going to put on himself to do the right thing and to make all the catches and to be where he's supposed to be at. But he just provides that daily example, even though he's so young in his career, just how to work, how to come to practice every day and work, how to come to meetings and work and take notes and take what we do in the meeting rooms and take it to the field. I think that's what he's head above heels, everybody else.
We go to David Seal.
Fontel, Jaden was saying at media day that he's in such a much better place mentally this preseason camp than he was during the spring for obvious reasons.
Right.
But what have you observed about him this camp, and does he look like the wide receiver who had 95 catches at Temple in 2019?
I think the biggest thing for him is, and we've talked about him before, just how resilient he is, man, and he holds so much inside. So I think now he's really comfortable with expressing himself, expressing his feelings, and talking. Having an outlet to talk, and football being another major outlet for him and a lot of these other kids. So the summer and the training camp has allowed him to just really zero in on football and focus on football. You know, he's one of the best just as far as he probably asks the most questions in the room, which is a good thing because it gives the younger guys confidence to be able to speak up and ask questions as well and not feel intimidated by not knowing something. He's heavily involved in everything. He wants to know every single position. And, you know, just like Lofton, I think he's a kid that puts a lot of pressure on himself to perform at a high level. So we just got to be very careful and, you know, how I respond to him in certain things. But he's just been a tremendous worker, man, and a great addition for us.
And then you were mentioning Ali earlier. Zach Koonce had a just breakout season for you last year at Old Dominion. Were you expecting that kind of production from him, 70-plus catches? And what have you told the defensive staff specifically about his skill set?
Well, I think when I was there and you get a kid of that caliber and that talent, the expectations obviously are always going to be super high. Didn't really know what product we would get on the field, but just in the recruiting process leading up to his decision, then after the fact, man, just, you know, you talk about a great kid, you talk about a selfless kid, you talk about somebody who had all the praise and came in and just put his head down and worked and worked and worked. I mean, a lot of people don't know he didn't start the first 4 games. And he didn't blink an eye. He didn't complain. He just showed up and, you know, he let his work speak for itself. So, I mean, he's really talented, great ball skills, super athletic. You know, I think he's a next level player.
Can we go back to Mike Barber?
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned how long you've known Jennings. I'm curious, what are some things you recall about him as a young guy kind of coming up as a prospect? Any stories, anything jump out?
Just eager, man, just eager. You know, he's kind of like your little brother, always around, you know, want to be at practice, want to be at your camps. And, you know, his family, you know, did a great job of just keeping him around football. And, you know, he's another one just as far as you talk about a high character kid and a kid that you're going to know what you're going to get on and off the field, who's going to work, who's going to outwork his talent. I think that stands head above heels to me. Like, he's going to surpass any expectations anybody has for him. So you know, I have a lot of love for Ali and, you know, everything that he was able to accomplish last year and kind of what he went through at West Virginia and being able to bounce back and just be happy again and playing football.
When he was young, did you see him as a Division I type talent? You mentioned kind of outperforming maybe some of his limitations.
You know, he was always, you know, I was kind of like just graduated, coming back and doing some camps, and he was always like the most talented kid at the camp. I was actually at James Madison when he was coming out, and, you know, we recruited him, and, you know, West Virginia ended up getting him. But I don't think I really envisioned him in this spot that he's, you know, having so much success at that early age, man. But, you know, I'm just super proud of him and super happy for him.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Could we go to Paul and then back to David?
Coach, you mentioned a couple of times now kind of handling different personalities differently when you're coaching them. How long does that take you? Because, I mean, you've got a room full of different personalities. Like, how long does that take you to figure out who you really need to kick in the butt and who you need to kind of pat on the back?
It takes a little while, man. I mean, the receivers room is going to always be filled with a lot of different personalities. That's a very nice way to put it. But I think the first step that, you know, any coach needs to take, you got to love them, man. You got to show them that you love them, that you care about them, and actually get to know them. And then I think once you get to know them and get around them, and we went through the all-season training and went through spring, and I think after spring I really got a really good feel for each person individually, you know, who I really need to push, who I need to be hard on. But again, just going back to, they don't respond the same if they don't feel like you care about them. So that's been my first thing since I got here. I just want to make sure they know that, one, I'm in it for the right reasons, and two, I love them. I'm going to care about them. And, you know, it's the reason, you know, why I'm pushing them, why I'm on them so hard.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck next week.
Thank you, man.
David?
Yeah, Coach. I'm curious, where have you seen Christian Moss grow the most since the spring, and what are your expectations for him this year?
Confidence, without a doubt, man. Just confidence. He is so talented and raw, just in his ability. Most guys have been playing football for a long time, since they were 6 or 7 years old, and he picked it up late. He was a basketball guy, and I think his biggest thing was he didn't trust himself all the time, and now he's playing with confidence. We're pushing him to be more physical, but just when you just look at him and you look at the tools, he's probably one of the most gifted kids in the room. So I anticipate him being able to help us this year.
Go to Evan, please.
Yeah, what have you seen so far out of Tucker Holloway during camp?
Probably the most dedicated freshman that I've been around. When you talk about work ethic, you talk about doing extra. He would come work a prospect camp with us in the summer on a Saturday. After camp was over, a 3-hour camp, he'd be in the film room for the next 3 hours. And he wasn't doing it to be seen or noticed by the staff. He was doing it to help himself and to better himself. He's a guy that I've been able to move around in the offense and play multiple positions. Obviously enrolling early helped him, but just as a freshman, being able to handle that workload is super impressive. The kid can run. He's got a natural ability to catch the ball and get out of his breaks. He's gained, I don't want to be quoted, but I know he's gained at least 10 pounds since he's been here. So I think that's going to be the biggest transition for him, just the physical part of it. And just mentality-wise, he's got it. He's not going to back down from anybody, but just the physical part of the game, that's going to come to him. And I think he's going to get his feet wet, and hopefully he'll be able to help us.
Final questions for Coach here. Okay, thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate y'all, fellas.